Good evening, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness. Last night, we all watched the finale of Lovecraft Country, and we're ready to discuss. Remember, there will be major spoilers in this episode. Comment at the bottom if you want to give us your opinion, or contact us on the Discord and leave us some information there. Tonight, our participants will be Josh Harwood, Stuart Likely, John Hook, and Wayne Worthy. So let's begin.
Okay.
Josh, you said you wanted to say something before we discuss.
I want to get this out of the way instead of saving it to the end. So every week I've been giving updates on season 2, whether it's going to happen. And Misha Green has indirectly said it's unofficially confirmed. So there's unofficially going to be a season 2. Just
Good.
HBO haven't confirmed it.
Good, because I'm going to comment about like the ending of this episode and how that could tie into another season and how they can go with that.
Unfortunately, I'm thinking season 2, I'm probably not going to watch it.
No?
It had enough interest for me to watch it, but I'm glad that it's done. And there's not enough interest to keep me going.
Okay.
I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
When time
It still
comes.
doesn't mean it's gonna go forward, but there's as long as HBO want more money or whatever, it'll probably go forward.
Yeah.
I think that if you guys are, some of you are watching it and you guys go, "Oh my God, the second season's so much better than the first," might be able to watch it.
Yeah, I will say, like, if they have the second season and they have some of the better writers of this season write for the second season, I think it will be really interesting because it will be new uncharted territory. You know, it will have the Lovecraft Country name, but it will be an anthology of sorts or whatever. I think it will be good if you have like somebody who wrote the Korean episode or some of the better episodes, like the Hippolyta episode. But let's talk about this episode first.
Okay.
And then we talk about the overarching season.
So let's see. Let's go back to the beginning of this episode. We begin where we left off from the previous one, with them bringing Dee in and doing whatever magic they can from the book. I thought it was interesting that they needed something in the book opened to the page that they needed.
Yeah,
that was kind of cool.
I mean, they didn't even realize that the book was going to do that. You know, they had a scrap of paper, and Tick is reading from that scrap of paper, and then that triggered the book because they were all surprised that it just started magically opening.
Right.
You know, and then it laid flat on a certain page, and then it, you know, kind of triggered the, you know, mentally to take the bloodline people, you know,
Letty and Tick,
someplace where they can go and talk, right? And really, Letitia didn't get to do it on her own. It was the baby that you know triggered it because of the bloodline, and I think that actually, well, no, that's because it's through his mother, but I thought that part was okay. That was pretty cool. That was a neat way to do some magic talk, you know, and learn things.
Okay.
It's all right.
I'm going to say this. I felt like this entire episode was rushed. I think that this could have been 2 episodes. I felt like the magic was, you know, oh, wow, this is a coincidence that, oh, they found this and they were able to do that, you know. And it was absolutely nothing like the book, which is fine. This is another property. This is an adaptation. But I feel like everything in this episode was rushed. I felt like, well, we can get on with our ideas about the other things in this episode, but I felt like everything just felt too like when Tick hooks up with Gia and apologizes. I felt like that was just too rushed to a point where she's like, okay, yeah, let me join you. It just felt too convenient, you know what I mean? As opposed to if it was another episode and he meets up with her. Oh, hey, John.
Hey, John. But yeah, I
like if he were to, like in another episode, if he were to meet up with her and explain like, okay, yeah, what I did was wrong, and I actually feel bad about this. Let's see what type of information you have. Are you still willing to help me? That sort of thing. And then having that sort of conversation, it was kind of like, hey, I need your help, and yeah, I treated you like shit in a couple episodes ago, but I'm sorry. Let's get over it. That's how it felt.
But that's exactly how I feel about a good part of the entire season. I know we want to stick on this episode, but what you're saying for me resonates through about half the episodes of the season, where things just feel rushed. Like every other episode's like, wait a minute, seems like we skipped some things, but
Yeah,
Definitely.
and it's, you can do that a little bit, but it just happened too often.
yeah,
Let me say something too, and this is kind of funny, but traditionally at the beginning of any episode, you do a little recap. And they did that in this, where they flashed some stuff. But subliminally, if you're composing a recap, it needs to touch on certain ideas that will come up in the episode that you're watching. And they may have failed to do that correctly. I could be wrong. I didn't pay that close attention. But we needed to get the information that Letitia had learned this magic from Grandma in the house before it burned, so that she could then do it in the to get the book to open. Because as I recall, there's a reference later on in last night's episode that they shouldn't have even been able to open the book. So they were really surprised when it popped open.
Well, that's what I guess that slip of paper was for. Was like an incantation to open up the book. And when he spoke it opened up to his page, basically, with his mark, his birthmark and everything.
Right.
Yeah, so I can understand that. I will say what I did like about this particular sequence was this ancestry portion of it, where the female ancestors of his family came and actually aided him with the spell. In my personal religion, we have our female ancestors that we worship, and they bring good luck and prosperity to us and everything like that. So I like that sort of tie into this.
I actually liked the way they handled that, where they went down in the elevator and went to the room, and the smoke sort of comes in and whirls around, and then their ancestors manifest. That was really interesting. And then they had to dismiss them, which they actually took the trouble of showing the dismissal.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool, because that's, you never take.
Yeah, exactly. They don't just disappear. You summon them in the world. And I like the fact that Tick was like hesitant to dismiss his mother, and Letitia had to do it, which was a really, really good and really emotional. But I felt like I wish there was more episodes to build that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was like there were too many climaxes in the middle of the show.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that should have been a climax. You know, and driving the demon out of the little girl, that should have been a climax.
Yeah, and I felt like what should have happened here is they should have taken an episode to prepare for facing Christina. And they could have gone talk to the ancestors. Letitia could have learned what she should have learned. Tick would have learned what he needed to learn. He would have had time. You would have seen him writing a letter to his father. You would have seen him taking deed to the beast that protects him, and getting them used to each other, which would make sense towards the end. Especially if Dee is feeling bad about her arm and then spends more time with this beast and builds this bond. I didn't feel that happened. I just felt like that came out of nowhere. They did it in a sort of montage, but I felt like it was out of nowhere.
I kind of guessed though about Dee's arm.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah.
I was like thinking, oh, Hippolyta could just build her one. she's got all this vast
Yeah,
knowledge.
yes, you did mention that. You did mention that.
Of course, at the same time, when we finally saw the arm, I'm like, oh, come on, Hippolyta. You could have made it look a little more futuristic.
Although it kind of looked like the robots that she came across when she had her trip.
Well, I thought those
Yeah, I
were
think
really
that's the idea.
slick
Yeah.
looking.
It looked a
and-
lot like Furiosa's arm, where there was like gaps and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she had limited tools too, so.
So the first two parts were the little girl getting cured, and then the spell bringing
Right.
what's his name?
Titus?
Yeah.
Titus.
Titus.
And I thought that it was interesting that he was able to break away from them, and he ended up.
Yes,
But he was
that
a
was
wizard.
very cool.
He was a wizard, so he would know that sort of
But
thing.
then they pulled him back.
Yes, I really like that where he goes to Christina and he's trying to warn them and right as he starts speaking they zoink him back and it was like nope, come back.
Oh my.
Yeah, that was cool. But it also let Christina know, I think, in that moment that something was up.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. I think that's unfortunately what tipped her off to their plans.
Which I felt was
yeah.
too convenient as well. So I mean, like I know the story has to move and everything like that. And you have to have your, your stuff there, but like your conflicts and stuff. But like I felt like that was a little too convenient. Like
Yeah, it was.
she's driving down the street
was a
and he
bit
happens to pop up in front of her, happens to give a half warning and say, and then disappear or whatever. And kind of like, all right,
They've got the,
yeah.
Yeah.
See,
But I mean, like, I'm complaining. It sounds like I'm really, like I said, I liked the season overall. I like where they were going with it, but yeah, there are a lot of issues with this.
another big problem really comes down to the fact it's a HBO show. HBO like to rush things and they like to make sure
Right.
it gets out. So that's where a lot of this probably in the editing process, a lot of it came down to them they had to do it in like a few days or whatever. So it all got rushed. So you end up with this very rushed, janky moments within each episode, because every episode had some rushed moments, some with less, but some with loads.
Like
Mhm.
Stuart said, it felt in cases like they left information out. They
Yeah.
threw the information in so quickly that we never even knew it was there.
Yeah, they threw. I really disliked. I dislike this tactic in any TV show where they've the characters have prepared in certain ways, but they won't tell us or show us until after certain dramatic things, and they're like, no, don't worry, we already prepared for this. Letitia's not dead, even though she fell from that tower
And died, and literally died. And like
she was kind of squished when she hit the ground.
Now, Christina did say in the previous episodes that she could use that Mark of King to heal somebody, but I don't know about resurrect. She can heal somebody that's been injured, but not resurrect.
Well, I believe she had the mark reapplied to her. That came through the montage.
Yeah.
Oh.
Before they went on the road trip, they prepared by doing certain things, like they gave her the mark, so now she's been re-protected. They figured out how to do that because they had the Book of Cain. Instead of giving them all the mark.
My question, so my question is they had the Book of Names, and which has all the spells in there. So why, if they're preparing, why not cast the invulnerability spell on yourself?
On everybody.
Because hey, I'm supposed to die, so why not cast an invulnerability spell on myself? And when Christina goes to cut my wrist, nothing happens. And
Well, it's also when they had the flashback to Grandma, when they were in the room, what the sort of time traveled into the red room. I recall Grandma saying, I mean, one, that she was a Christian, and two, that she had the book, but she was told to keep the book but never open.
Never read it.
Correct. Yeah.
And so how does grandma know all the spells?
Exactly.
You know, it's like, wait a second.
Right, because then they also mention that the ancestors have been preparing the incantation for years, and that the other ancestors had been reading the book. And so I guess those ancestors were reading it, but you're right. When did she read it to help them?
However, if ghosts can speak to each other, and
right,
so that could happen too. So, and they did all show up, you know, and they're all part of the same family. So that would make sense.
And I agree that I agree that was one of the best scenes, Wayne, is that I really did like that the you know, like them assisting with the ritual and doing the spell. I think I like that a lot. And like for me, I felt like I watched this episode and I paused because I had to go like do a chore real quick, and I had paused it and I was like, we're already halfway done. And I was like, that's oof, because it was like I felt like we were doing setup and we were already halfway done with the episode. And so I liked parts of it. I liked it. It was just I felt like it was very rushed, and I would have liked 2 episodes.
This episode was like an hour and a half, where they could expand it. Yeah. That would have been like if this was like a feature length episode or something like that. Then this whole episode would probably work. They'd be able to flesh things out, and they could get through all this personal stuff, and then have that climactic end with Christina.
I also always wonder, rushing just a little bit towards the final climax, or the little before that. So Christina's point in this is to become immortal. That's what she's after. But we know that she's lost her invulnerability. So why does she hang around the second she becomes invulnerable? I would have said, all right, bye. I would have ran from, because you wouldn't want somebody to kill you. You know, just because you're immortal doesn't mean somebody can't kill you. It means that you can live forever, but you can't be shot with a bullet through the head.
Or you can, but you'll have that bullet in your head. You'll still be alive. You'll still feel the pain.
Right. Yeah.
But you're not going to die from it. So that
you want to be invulnerable and
immortal. Exactly.
And forever youthful, because what if she ages too?
They showed early on with the protection spell with Christina on the pier getting, you know, bound up and pushed off and beaten, and she survived all of that, but she still, you know, went through the hell of that.
Yeah, to me it felt like that was a throwaway. Maybe it was a red herring, because like I would have liked it for her to get to the altar and look at that, and then like I would have if this was longer and she actually started building relationships and feelings for Ruby and the family, and saying, hey, you know, while I'm white and I've always believed this way, or I was raised this way, these people are just, you know, like just trying to survive. They're people, you know, and starts becoming more empathetic to them. And then when it comes to that ritual, she decides not to do it, and then goes up against the lodge of, you know, the Ancient Dawn or whatever, and she's an ally to them. That would be a cool spin for the show.
Or what would have been an even more interesting spin is if she had appeared to change through this whole thing, become more sympathetic towards them, tell them, we don't need to kill Atticus. We can, if you let me have the book and take a look, she says this in it, maybe I can find another way to achieve this without this other method. And maybe they would have been friendly enough with her to let her look in the book or whatever. And she'd say, all right, we all need to be present for this. And then at the last moment, she sticks Atticus up there, guts him, and does the ritual anyway. And she's like, what do you think? I'm an idiot? Of course I'm going to do it the way that I originally. And we'd say, she is the bad guy and she deserves to die.
Right.
You know.
The other is, so like I was looking at this and I was looking at the book, and the way the book presents it is like Caleb, who's Christina's, you know, so like after his father dies at the mansion, George is still alive, of course, but like he also puts a spell on their car so that whenever they're traveling, they'll never get harassed by cops or whatever. He goes and he sets Letitia up so that she can buy this house. He's doing all this benevolent sort of thing. Yes, he wants something in return, but he's showing like, hey, I don't have to be an asshole. Like, we can be friends. Like, I'll do this stuff for you guys. I don't really care what you guys want to do with your life. I'll do this stuff for you. I just want this.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
You
in the
know?
book, in the book, Caleb helped them get the reparations,
Right.
you know, and
Yeah.
which was never a top. It was never brought up in the HBO series, which is a shame. That was a great subplot, sub story that was in the book, and throughout the book, Caleb, Christina, would go out of his way to try and ingratiate himself, to Titus, and it would have been a great development for in the HBO series if we were seeing things like, wow, I'm seeing these people not as strangers, not as a color, but I'm actually seeing them as people. I'm seeing them as a family, and getting and we as the audience would start to go, oh my God, there is empathy. And then, like Tom said, then the villain decides to do villainous things by choice, not by,
Right.
I'm not doing this because fate tells me to do it. I'm doing bad things because I choose to do bad things. I know you guys are a family, and I've come to get to know you, and that put a little warm spot in my heart, but I'm going to squish that out, and I'm going to take this spell.
Right.
That would have made us like, that would have been the roller coaster for us
Yeah.
to ride on and hate the character even more. And that would have been awesome. Yeah, I just, I hated
It would have also been horror.
it would have been horror. It would have been great horror for this. I hated the whole oh, we had our, our A team preparing for battle moments off camera, and we're going to show it to you now as this quick flashback. D being introduced to the I guess
Shoggoth.
we'll call it a Shoggoth, even though it's
Yeah.
not. But D being introduced to the Shoggoth, so now she's got her pet Shoggoth, her personal bodyguard, that is what saved her, because the thing tunneled through the earth and followed the car as they traveled back to Artem, and so it was there to protect D when the other Shoggoths came out. And is it too soon to get into the end? Because this is what really freaking pissed me off.
Well, we can still talk about it.
Okay.
Although I want to add something to the Shoggoth thing.
Please. The one thing that came to me symbolism wise, and I guess this is what could lead into the next season, if they have one, is Christina's trapped under all that stone. Letitia does the expose, talking about how we've taken magic away from white people, not just you, but from everybody. Now it's ours. And then they get Atticus's body, and they all exit the camera. They exit the scene coming at the camera. They come towards the camera and basically kind of exit over our left shoulder. That's where the heroes are going. And they have a scene. But then D shows up with her pet Shoggoth, and she comes up over those little steps from the background. And she comes up and just does that horrific, now's the big reveal, which everyone knew something had happened to her arm. And it was just, what was it? Oh, it's a mechanical arm that won't grow with her as she grows up. So she's going to have like a baby arm, a mechanical baby arm as she becomes a full-grown woman.
Her mother could
whatever.
like upgrade her arm as she goes.
Maybe it goes.
Then she goes and crushes the throat, which seemed unnecessary and really villainous. But then she and the Shoggoth, they exit by going deeper into the scene and go back the way they came. So the family has split. Symbolically, the family split, with D and the Shoggoth going one way and the rest of the family going another way. And we don't see them all together for the rest of the program, which the program is basically over by then. We don't see them together again. So now I'm thinking, are they trying to forecast and say D's the villain in the next series? Does she just basically run away
No,
and become the villain?
She was the one who handed Atticus the book. and pushed him through the portal. He mentioned that he met a woman with a mechanical arm, or at least and said, "Yeah, she handed you the book and pushed you through the portal." Which
The
I was
future
like,
book.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that's going to be Dee later on, because you see what happens with her arm. So
that would make sense, because I did think it was a little cheeky that before the Shoggoth shows up, she's reading about the same chapter about, and she's except Horus is there and everything's going on, and so I thought it was interesting that she was reading it, and
it doesn't mean that she doesn't do villainous things before.
Right.
right.
We're not eliminating
Because she
it,
wasn't
but
exactly happy after she got cured. She was actually kind of, I actually kind of like the fact that she was like, yeah, Mom, but you left me.
That's real.
In the car. I mean, she was repeatedly left. She was horribly maimed. I mean, there's a lot of good reason for her to be really pissed off,
and
scared, felt like left behind and abandoned by the family more than once, horribly disfigured by magic.
Lied to by the family.
Yeah, lied to by the family, and ultimately finding out that Christina is like the oracle of this negativity towards her family. So I totally get how a kid, can be really bent out of shape about this. So I get her rage wanting to kill Christina. It makes sense.
She was very isolated.
I just couldn't think, though, of anything wherein Christina and Dee interacted with each other.
The only time
Christina
they interacted
tried
was
to cure her.
Yeah, exactly. That was the only time they interacted with each other.
But
So,
the entire, but she does not live in a vacuum. Her entire family is constantly living in the family, worried about Christina. Christina did this. Christina's biggest enemy,
Dee, and when Dee encounters the I apologize, I can't remember his name. The cop,
Lancaster.
Yes, Lancaster. Thank you, Lancaster. She gets very acquainted with Lancaster, and so she understands that there's these white people in power that have magic, and that they are not good people. And so I don't think she catches on very quick that this Lancaster, Christina. This makes sense. She is like him.
I would have liked to have seen her jack.
Yeah.
Lancaster.
I know.
I would have loved to see Dee get her revenge on. Yeah, same.
Just pop his head off.
maybe that happens in the next.
Well, he's dead.
So he's dead. The Shoggoth puppy.
So he didn't die on.
No, we didn't see him die.
Oh, he got torn into pieces. Yeah, we saw him get torn to pieces.
No, but
he got torn to pieces. He got taken back to his office.
Yeah, he was.
They were putting him back together, but for some reason he wasn't healing, and it was because Christina had put that stone.
Oh yeah,
Ruby had put the stone, and she said, "I just want to watch you die," and he dies right there in front of her.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't see his eyes close. I thought they stayed.
I didn't either.
He just goes.
I thought he was still breathing.
We never saw a body.
So I thought he was just dying. He was bleeding out. He was dying.
Yeah.
Camera shifts.
I thought the camera shifted while he was still.
I was like, well,
breathing.
that
I think that's why Christina went there. Christina wanted to watch him die, so I assume he died.
And like we were saying earlier, that there's
still.
He can still go with that, but his that little bit, and with the Ruby and Christina whole dynamic, they're just these little crumbs of storylines that I would have loved to see get fruition. I mean,
that also pissed me off too. But so, and of course this is from the book to the show, but yes, Ruby gets this elixir. Yes, she's addicted to this elixir, but no, she doesn't betray her family for this thing. Mm-hmm. It's, for me, it was just when Ruby was like, "Oh, I'm gonna, fuck my family. I'm just gonna go with this." I was just like, I mean, maybe she's setting things up, and then it was just like, "Oh, well, she died," and I'm like, off camera, these are major characters. How are you gonna have them die?
That was a punk way to handle that.
It seemed also really contrived, because if we went by what we see Ruby argue with Letitia that you only want things when you want something from me. You don't actually care about family. So screw you. And she walks away. I thought maybe Ruby should have been on Christina's side. that would have made kind of sense.
She almost
Also,
was.
That would
from
have
the
made more
from the
sense.
previous episode when she's like, "Well, are you going to kill Atticus?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, I have to." And she's like, "Well, as long as you don't hurt Letitia, fine." And I'm like, "All right, that's Ruby's character." So then
And
for
that's
Ruby to off
which was interesting
camera,
because
Yeah,
now that you mention that, it's interesting because Christina actually holds up to that bargain with Ruby. So even
Yeah.
though she pushed her out off that,
She does.
yeah,
she heals her again at a specific time. She didn't want to heal her right away, so she healed during the apex of the ritual.
I don't think Christina did that.
it look in that. That's the problem. I hate it when they do montage to explain
we're not sure.
things. And I see where you because before we did do a little bit of discussion, I know where you're coming from, Carl, but it does look like Christina is the one because she's looking down and her mouth is moving, so it just looks like she was.
Yeah, I don't think Christina. I think they prepared her ahead of time, and Christina was legit surprised that Letitia was alive because she thought that Letitia died from the fall, and she had already been protected, and just falling like that probably knocked the wind out of her, and it took her a moment to finally come to.
I don't know. She made a dimple in the ground.
Yeah, she did make
She was
it.
Still gonna
out
make
for
it.
a while.
Yeah, it's not like she's
Out for
gonna
a
bounce
while.
like a rubber ball,
No,
Um,
but the thing here is she was laying on the ground for a while, and
Yeah.
Christina went away,
But-
started the ritual, and then while the ritual is happening and she cuts Atticus open, that's when Letitia reawakens.
Well,
You just
There-
wanted Letitia out of the way, so not.
I think I'd have to rewatch that montage again.
there was
because so much happened in that montage.
Yeah.
that I still.
there was
don't
also
actually.
something that Christina said, and I thought about it the second she said it because I think that it was a lie. She said something about if I kill Atticus and the spell goes the wrong way, I will have killed the last bloodline. So my chances of ever doing it again will never happen. That's not true.
Have the baby.
Letitia's baby
Yep.
is the
Right.
continuation of the bloodline. So, and Christina would have
Oh.
known that.
I don't know. I don't know if she would have known that.
I think that's probably your season 2.
Right.
Be like,
Yeah,
I lied
Well,
about that
Christi-
because I have that baby in mind.
Yeah, Christina knew. Yeah, Christine definitely knew because that's another reason I'm pretty sure she agreed to give the Mark of Cain to
right.
Letitia.
Right.
So.
Well,
And-
what happens? I mean, Letitia has the protection spell, but does the baby inside her carry that? Because that would.
Well,
that's-
yeah, because I
Yes.
imagine
Yeah,
it's like
okay.
in the last episode, Letitia was carrying the book while standing in the fire.
Correct.
So if it extends outwardly, it definitely extends internally.
It's her person.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you might have the argument of, it's her body. It's still her body
Right.
until she gives birth.
I thought it was funny too that oh well this is HBO. We don't want to get too crazy, so her clothes stay on even if there's fire. So by that extension, I guess the book wouldn't burn.
Then again, it's a
Which makes
magical
sense,
book.
but-
Maybe the book
right.
wouldn't burn anyway.
Right. And going back to the Ruby thing, I do agree that I like the twist of Letitia and Ruby talking, and then it's actually Christina. But
I
then
didn't see it coming.
but yeah, because I didn't see it coming
I
either.
did.
But then
I
they go
did.
ahead and say, "Oh, Ruby's already dead, by the way, off screen, and we're not gonna flash back to show you the death." And it's like, come
No,
on, come on, just
we
show
don't
it
see-
to us.
We don't see her die, but we see her in the blood.
The
fix. So
flashback.
No, she still technically is alive. She still technically is alive because in that comatose, she just puts them in a comatose state so she can
That's
drain
true.
the blood. So technically,
It's
she
dead.
could
Yeah, that's
still be
true.
alive, but
It
brain
would
dead.
lose momentum of the shock value of revealing in a brief flash that Ruby's dead to then stop and go back and have a past scene. When you get hit with a shock, you should kind of roll forward with it.
Yeah, but the problem here is, I don't know. It
And
just
That's
it
true.
felt like a throw, especially for a major character in the story. If it
Yeah,
was like a minor
Yeah.
character or side character,
yeah,
then okay, but like somebody like Ruby,
Like because we had entire episodes that half of the episode was Ruby's story. What is Ruby and Christina doing, and then half the episode is what Atticus and Letitia are doing. And so then we get like this like our one of our heavy like B or C arcs is just like, that was ended 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's very cheap. The other thing, going back to the graveyard scene where Letitia and Ruby were speaking, obviously Ruby starts walking away, but then Letitia says there's more to her. We never know what she actually says to Ruby, but clearly that swayed Ruby to try and steal the blood. But did she really try to properly steal the blood?
see, and
or did Christina know about it?
Yeah, I wish there were like a scene for that, because I feel like if we had a scene where we seen Ruby and where her loyalties actually lie with Christina or with her family, and we seen her actively trying to help her family, and then Christina catches her, and then it shifts to another scene, then you know that, okay, wow, Ruby is actually not betraying her family.
I think,
and then it's revealed, okay, she's dead or something like that. Then you could say, well, damn, she died honoring her family. Here it's kind of like, you don't know. She's mentioned, oh, she tried to steal a potion for you, and that was it. You know what I mean? As if like it was meaningless. So
because there was sort of this like, I agree that it was kind of a good way of doing it, but they kind of didn't quite execute it right. Where it's, you see, like, she walks away, she's angry, and then she goes back and she's she's kissing Christina, and they have this, and they embrace each other, and then you later find out, oh, she actually did get the vial, and then, oh no, she didn't, and so I did kind of like that, sort of, that we saw her with her, and it explains, oh, she didn't betray her family, I guess, but it just, there was not enough time for it, I felt like, to really honor that character.
I think that maybe we were given a clue that it wasn't Ruby, even a little before that, when Atticus is preparing, he has to eat the piece of meat, and then he drinks the potion. And my immediate thought was, oh boy, he's going to turn into Christina. And then nothing happened to him. So I'm like, was there something wrong with the potion?
Yes.
And so, and it wasn't really a potion at all.
Yeah.
It's probably ground up cat food.
See, another thing
that like for example, you didn't, like, for like going back with the Ruby thing, like, you wouldn't have actually had to have a whole entire full-on scene with her. You could have just had Ruby and Christina doing their thing, and then Ruby finding that potion or whatever of Christina, and then taking it to her sister, and then Christina kind of waking up and seeing her walk out with the potion, and kind of pick up off of that, and then you say, okay, so that was actually Ruby handing her the potion, thinking that she's doing the right thing, and then come to find out later, no.
See,
it was set up. Then that would have been better, in my opinion.
I think there was another tell as well. I can't remember because I don't remember what Ruby's eye color was, but I'm pretty sure when Ruby was Christina, the eyes were blue.
It started to change blue, yeah.
They were blue, and I'm pretty sure Ruby's were hazel colored. So that was a tell. That is a slight tell that it wasn't Ruby.
Yeah.
There were too many things going on.
Yeah.
There was
to keep them all straight.
And again, this comes down to the show. The episode's 60 minutes long, and I think a lot of things were cut because they have to keep it within this frame. And there probably was a scene where the graveyard bit was expanded, where we actually saw Ruby die and try to steal, and where we got to see an expanded stuff. It was probably like an hour and a half, but they just had to cut it down because HBO was like, this has to fit 60 minutes. This can't be 90 minutes. This has to be.
Well, that's that. Yeah, but that's and we're talking about that flaw. I mean, if that actually happened, then this is a flaw of trying to combine such as a season finale into 60 minutes.
Yeah.
which
You also
not-
feel like the magical sacrifice was like the least amount of money they spent on CGI.
Man, I think
mean,
they
the
blew
monsters were
budget on the
lovely,
CGI throughout the
But the
entire
blood
season.
shooting out of his arms was
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
was
like, was it my imagination or like the scene in the manor when it's burning? Like this particular episode, it just looked like they lost the budget.
Yeah.
they went.
Yeah,
They
I
just
was like-
reversed the flames.
It's because
Yeah.
there wasn't enough nudity and blood, so I feel like you're not getting any more money.
But
for
the
this
thing
episode.
that I think medical and biology. So I've got my arm here, and I'm cutting it like this. So the only place the blood's going to be coming from is here, because the blood's pumping this way. But the
True.
blood was coming out like waves of, and I'm like, and it was very fake looking CGI.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CGI blood tends to not be great. Sometimes it's good, but most of
They
the time
can do
it's
pretty
bad.
damn good,
Yeah.
liquid mechanics in CGI now.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was just silly. I did y'all notice that the good monster was black and the bad monsters
did.
were white?
I did notice that.
Uh-huh.
Thought that was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
little contrived.
Philadelphia, you mean? Yeah.
Also, we got the CGI's tentacles again. Cat fox tentacles. I called it earlier on that they were gonna make an appearance in a episode
Yep.
back, and they did.
It was
Technically jumped in to save the day.
Kamiho Ex Machina, yeah.
Yeah, and that was disappointing because
Yes. Thank you.
And she was still alive. She should have died, I think, personally.
I think she should have died, and in doing so, transferred any of the magic and stuff, out of Christina and funneled it back into Tick so that he could be alive. The fact that that character is dead pisses me off to no end.
Me too.
Jonathan Majors, right? Is that his?
Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan Majors is an amazing actor. I watched. He was
Superb.
he was superb.
He's got a
His
good
acting
career
ability. Oh my God! So I can't wait to see him in everything that he does.
Yes.
But his acting and the chemistry that he had with Letitia, that made the show for me. And if they were going to have another season, it would be important for me to be able to see a continuation of that relationship. Now he dead. We're not going to get that. And are they going to just simply jump forward 20 years? And so now the star of the next series is going to be George Freeman, the baby, and
Because that's the thing. Jonathan Majors can still play him because in the photographs of his son, they used Jonathan Majors as the son. So
they did. So
Yeah.
I thought about that they might just recast him as his own son, but I'm like, man, come on.
yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
Considering the rules, as you said, of this whole show, the rules of magic, you could simply combine Hippolyta's power with Letitia's book, and they could just reconstitute Atticus and bring him back. And
See,
I mean, they do have a book of names, and it's supposed to be this. I mean, they've been doing all this crazy shit, like Christina having the Mark of King. It came from the book of names, like.
well, we
like
recreated George already, so
yeah, true. Another, just before we continue, we going back to Jaya very quickly. It's nice that hopefully for season 2, Jamie Chung will return, because I love Jamie Chung, and she did a fantastic with what she was given.
Yeah.
In her role, but I feel like going by the prophecy she got from the shaman woman, I thought she was going to get enveloped by the darkness and I thought it was going to take her life, and she would save Atticus. That's what I thought would have happened. I thought that was her purpose for the story. And
I
she's still
liked
alive.
her personal growth when she's sitting in the restaurant and he comes in and talks to her. she admits, yeah, I think I came here because of me. I wanted to see her. And it was almost this revelation of I'm actually acting in a selfish manner, and I'm ashamed that I've done it, and I shouldn't have come. And I was like, wow, that's really good. I
But-
like that.
And that's good growth, which is why
I
I
like-
like her character, because she's not meant to have emotions.
But I
They're
don't
not
think
meant
that
to think
anybody
like that.
else. Yeah, that's true. I don't think that anybody else in this thing, in the show, really had any redeeming qualities, except maybe Hippolyta, with her personal
growth.
realization. You know,
I kind of-
everybody else, it's like,
I kind of feel bad for Montrose now. I know he did terrible things, but the past 2 episodes
It went
Kind of.
unanswered.
they all
Just
kind of did
persuaded
terrible
me to him.
things.
yeah, and I love how just Montrose does terrible things like taking out that native woman, and then it just never gets brought up. It just never really matters. Never, it's just a thing that Montrose did in episode
Feel like it-
4.
Yeah.
In episode
feel like it-
4.
I feel like it was a scene that they just cut that was probably in the next episode, but they just cut it because they're like, we're running out of time. Let's just cut this 20-second scene in the bin.
So HBO, you should have done a better job.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not interested in watching another series, a second season. I mean, unless all my friends are like, "It's the best thing ever. You definitely need to be watching it." I'm
Yeah.
out. I'm done.
I would be willing to give a second season a chance. I look at it kind of like True Detective. Like first season was awesome, second season not so good. Third
Mhm.
season really awesome. If they have another season, I will watch that. And it might be
Yeah.
good. It might be second season.
I just don't have the time to invest.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Um, But like John said, if everybody is saying, "Oh, it's way better than the first season," I'll be like, "Really? Okay. Maybe
Okay.
I'll give it a chance."
I would try, Sarah. I don't blame like the editors for editing the episodes. They just get told like they're given
Right.
a certain time to do it and stuff like that. It's not, to an extent, it's their fault that it's a jumbly mess, but at the end of the day, they get a lot of work pushed on them.
Yeah.
They have time constraints to fit. It's not their fault if they're getting forced to rush ahead.
And
Well,
if I may, I pulled up the episode and I was just rewatching the end a little bit because I was, confused on when did Letitia get that mark of Cain. I think it's unanswered because we saw the mark of Cain taken away from her, right?
Yep.
And just now I rewatched the the montage flashbacks, and I just assumed that the mark of Cain was put on her in one of those flashbacks. It's not.
It's not.
And when she does wake up and she has the mark of Cain, that is in the moment when Christina is getting poured into her heart, all that blue smoke coming out of Tick's heart.
Energy.
There's no way Christina is in that ecstasy of becoming immortal and going, "Oh, by the way, I left the stove on. Whisper, 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 you can have your mark back." There's no way that happened.
Yeah.
She was sitting there just going, "Ah," and then suddenly, boom, Letitia wakes up. So how did the mark come back?
I don't think it was at that point. I think, when she was looking down from the tower, I think she put like
I don't know why she
then.
would.
Yeah.
But I feel because she looked down and her mouth definitely moved. I don't know if it was a fault of the camera angle or something, but
Well, maybe
that
she
is
said,
where I
"Fuck
thought
you."
it happened.
I will check
She
it
did
out.
cast some sort of spell under her breath. That
But
was
it is-
very.
Also seems to me like if Christina had those kind of
Who
powers
knows?
to begin with, when she walked in, she said, "I know you got the book, gave me the book." And they said, "No," she would just take the book.
There's a lot of unanswered. They'll
Yeah.
either get answered in the next season or they won't.
Hopefully.
We
Yeah.
don't get the rules of magic in this.
Right.
That's the other thing about magic. So I feel with all this magic being slung around, this is not like Harry Potter magic. This is like Cthulian type magic. I feel like
Yeah.
people should be making sanity rolls. I think people should be losing some sanity points every time they cast a fucking spell, you know?
Yep.
But there's no consequences. Like, oh, well, it's a spell, it's magic, so that explains everything away. No. And Cthulhu lore, I mean, although this isn't really Call of Cthulhu, but every time you do something, you're breaking the universe.
Mhm.
And that's
But
causing some sort of sanity.
that said, in in real life, you don't see somebody losing sanity. You don't see their soul breaking. It's the choices they make, their perceptions, the way they feel and act, that's slowly deteriorating. And it deteriorates at a slow pace where you don't see it. It's like in real life. Perfect example. Me going slowly crazy at my career. High career. You don't fully notice, well, maybe you do, you don't fully notice me losing my mind, but I am. And that's the way it would work.
However, I mean, that now you make a good point, but that's earthly things that make you go insane. We're talking about cosmic horror here, where just looking on them will snap your, like the fact that Hippolyta was able to, I'm assuming is Yogg-Saga, but was able to stand in that presence and not have any sanity loss. Now I think they kind of hinted on it, but it wasn't like full blown.
Yeah.
So she came back and Dee was like, "You left me. I was alone, and I got it. I got fucked up because you left me."
Yeah.
And Hippolyta is like, "Yes, I understand. You're gonna be mad at me, but time is relative, you know." And she's going off on her thing. So that is a bit of insanity. She's no longer in touch with how she once was.
I think where they were going with this is it's a kind of an old concept of magic. It's not Lovecraftian, and it's probably closer to sorcery than anything else. It's the idea that when God created the universe, he spoke it into existence. And the Book of Names has the original words that he used. And if you can say the name of a thing, the true name, then you have control over it, which is why Adam had control over all of the beasts and all of the world, around him, because he knew the original names. That's why it's the Book of Names. So if you understand the word for vulnerability, you can create invulnerability. If you understand the word, and theoretically you can play around with the words a little bit and create something like that Shoggoth creature, something brand new, because you're using God's. I think that's where they were going. It just seems
language of creation,
and that's why they were kind of saying that Indian woman, who was really like an ancient caveman woman, that they were closer to the original language, so she understood it. But that people had lost it along the way, except for white people, apparently. And now just black people have that. So very strange. I really kind of thought they were going to wipe it out so that, because didn't Letitia or somebody said that they were looking for a way for the word to destroy it completely, all magic.
Maybe Montrose?
If you're using the Book of Names and it's the Book of Creation, you can't really destroy it, because by destroying it, you destroy all of existence in a way.
It's actually
it's all tied to if everything that was created by God and it was named by God.
Right.
If you destroy that, then it undoes everything that he created. Basically.
Well, now that you say it that way, I just remembered the movie Warlock from way back when. The idea, he had to learn the words of creation, and then the warlock was going to speak them backwards and undo the universe, which seems like a really dumb thing for somebody to do, because I mean, even if you're evil, you still want a universe around.
Yeah.
Right?
You still want your 7-Eleven.
Or maybe you don't. Maybe you're chaotic evil and you just want everything to go, including yourself.
There's an easier way for that. All right. Any last Are we going to?
Yeah, I guess we can go around and do some final thoughts and ratings.
Give it a 6, sorta.
Yeah, I think
4.
I think I'll give the episode a 6 or a 7. It did feel like I like the series overall a lot, and we talked about it, and we've had some really good episodes, but there were a couple episodes like this one where it felt like a Call of Cthulhu game that you accidentally let too many people join, where it's like, oh, sure, we can do 6 people, and then you realize it's the wrong scenario for 6 people, and you're like, all right, this happens, and we go there, and then we go here, and then we jump there, and then montage, and then it's like it's too much. It's just there's too much going on. Nope, it's hard to follow. Yeah. So it's like I liked it, but I think
I feel
it could have
personally
been
attacked
sorted
by
out.
that analogy, by the way.
Hey, I've done it too.
Yeah.
Well, it also felt like the GM was saying, "Oh, I can't quite think of what to do for this session." What was that movie I watched the other day? Oh, Indiana Jones. I'll throw in some Indiana Jones shit and see if that works. And
yeah. I would give
Now
it.
you're calling me out, Tom.
I would give this episode 7. There were things I liked about it. I mean, when the action was there, it was good. I think there were a lot of plot holes. I think the CGI was bad in that rap music session.
Oh yeah.
Beginning went on too long, and I was like, wow, this is what I really hate about this season and this series. But it made up for it halfway through when they were all in the car and they were doing their period piece, and I was like, okay, this makes up for the beginning. But this is pretty much in the middle for me. I give it a 7 because it's good, it's watchable, it's not terrible, but it's definitely not my favorite episode. However, overall, I would give this season an 8.5. There's some really, really good episodes in this.
Yeah.
Really good storytelling in it.
You know, the historiosity of it and the stuff that I learned, I am very grateful for. I thought it was very, very informative on the things that were going on back then. I think they're horrendous, but
Yeah.
there are things I didn't know. So now I'm glad that I know.
I'd definitely give the episode 7 for me and the series 8.
I'm a 7 for this episode, and this series overall 8.5.
Yeah, so I like the 8.5 for the whole series.
7 for the series, 4 for this episode.
Oh wow. Okay.
3 an
That's fair.
episode.
You can't kill my favorite character
That's
in
fair.
level 5.
That's true.
That's fair.
So, Josh, do you have any last words?
Of course, I have my final.
Oh, our final thing.
Of course, I do.
Well,
And
until
that
we find a
is-
movie that we all want to watch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is thank you to the viewers. I did it last week, but this is just thank you to the viewers and the people who have commented. Thank you for John and Stu and Wayne and everyone joining. And Mick and Morgan.
always
Morgan.
our host.
Yes, Mick, Morgan, everybody that joined us.
And our host, Tom.
And Tom.
Who? Oh, yeah.
I miss Mick. Mick has been commenting in the
Oh,
Discord.
yes. Oh,
He's
yes.
quite upset and angry at some of the posts.
good stuff. The next time we do this, we have to do it on something that Mick can more easily watch.
Well, my guess is the next thing that we would do this on would be an actual Lovecraftian movie. Maybe
Ooh.
the next one in the series from the guy who did Color Out of Space.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be Dunwich Horror.
Yeah, Dunwich Horror, yeah.
Ooh, I'm
My absolute favorite of all of Lovecraft's stories.
skeptically hopeful.
I've seen
what's the
2
third
other
movie?
versions of it.
What's the third movie?
The 70s one.
He didn't say yet. He didn't say.
It might be Innsmouth.
That's my guess, because that's the most popular Lovecraft story.
But there were
Or
talks
Call
of
of Cthulhu.
mountains.
They
and
could do Call
mountains.
of Cthulhu is his most popular, but yeah, why not? Why not Call of Cthulhu? That would be.
Yeah.
I only think that that Shadow over Innsmouth is practically cinematic when you read it, and Call of Cthulhu is all cerebral.
Mm.
And that the black and white
yeah.
40-minute version of Call of Cthulhu is masterful.
And there's
Silent
actually
movie.
Really
yeah.
good.
it's a little different. It's a little its own thing. But the 2018 video game is also amazing. It's very good. The Call of Cthulhu game. I think I like it a lot. Yeah.
I didn't care for it.
That and the Sinking City.
That one, the Sinking City is even better. Yeah, honestly.
I just loved the fish person racism in that game because they would actually react. It was like, it was great. They would actually react to it.
Anyway, yes.
Fantastic.
All right.
A lot of good stuff.
Anything else?
Just thank you.
Yes, thank you all. This is great. Thank you all for commenting. It was great talking with you all.
We are Into the Darkness. We constitute a large group of friends from around the world that play the game called Call of Cthulhu RPG. You can find us at intothedarkness.club. We play Tuesdays through Fridays, a couple of hours each night, and we post these videos on YouTube. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our other members. You can set up private games. You can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastery. There's a link below. We're currently producing up to 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. The costs involved with the show are provided almost entirely by our patrons. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.